Well, my name is Betty Ann Brewer. My maiden name was Phillips, and I didn't completely grow up, but I lived up east of Kenwood till I was about 10 years old. My dad's name was John Phillips. My mother's name was Bessie Phillips. I'm the eighth of 10 children, and I'm the second one of those that was born in the hospital. My mother had all the other ones at home. We had fun up there, my sister and I. We would play. Mom always had a bunch of bottles around the house, like flavorings and just medicine, like liniment used to come in a bottle and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, we had a family of dolls and there's all bottles, Even down to a little Vicks jar. That was a baby because it was little and fat. By the way, we had to put everything up when we got finished too. Mama made sure we did that. And then another thing we do, we'd play with corn. The silk was the hair. And somehow or another, I don't know what she used, but she'd draw a face on the corn. Sometimes they was pretty and sometimes they was pretty ugly. But we ate that. We didn't put that up. And my little brother and I, we played a lot. We went out in the potato patch and got blocks of wood, and made houses and, little blocks. Daddy was a carpenter, he did a lot of carpenter work, and there's always little blocks of wood around. So we got weeds for the trees, and we made little roads, and, we had us a regular little city out there. We'd play up in the hayloft, and it was always real slick up there, so we'd take a run and we'd slide, just see how far we could slide. It's a wonder we didn't slide out the other end, but we never did. We would go back there and gather apples. And Dad had cows and horses out there and bulls, and we'd get up in some of them apple trees, and we'd have to stay up there 2 or 3 hours because them cows was down on the ground. We was afraid to get down. We'd throw apples at them, and they'd just eat the apple and turn around and wait for more. So there we was in trouble. Sometimes we'd swing on grapevines, climb trees, and smoke grapevine. And one time, my sister and I were going down in the woods to play on the grapevine. She went running ahead of me. She jumped up and grabbed this grapevine and run back here, and tuck off down that way and just kept it going. That grapevine had broken way up there in the tree, and it didn't stop her, so, she just went running down through the woods, dragging that grapevine. I started school at Jay. I went 1 year up there, and then I was in the first grade up there, and then when I went to Little Kansas, they wanted to know what grade I was in, and I told them first grade, because I was in the first grade. So I went 2 years in the first grade. I think that's where I got so smart at, 2 years in the first grade. I went to school about 3 years at Little Kansas, and then that's when we moved to, I was old enough then, we moved down to Kenwood from where I'd lived. When we lived at Kenwood School was just across the field from where we lived. Mm-hmm. I remember going to school barefooted, and then when I got to school, I'd put my shoes on. Teacher didn't want us going barefooted, and lots of times I'd go to school with a little dip of snuff. My sister and I, we thought it was a good idea, so we started out with cocoa and sugar, and then we got cinnamon and sugar, and we even dipped some coffee, but it wasn't very good. It was kind of crumbly, We had to gather eggs. When Mama worked in a garden, everybody worked in a garden. When Mama got up and fixed breakfast early, everybody got up early and ate breakfast, because she wasn't going to cook breakfast twice. We'd have to get clothes in off the clothesline, after I got bigger. But when it come time to pick beans or gather garden stuff, well, we all did it, and it wasn't that much work. I had to draw bath water, put water in the tubs, to let it warm up in the sun so we could all take a bath at night. And then in the summer too, when we lived at Kenwood, we was always down at the creek in the afternoon. just all up and down Saline Creek. We'd just go where there wasn't nobody at. I know one time though, it was right after that movie, The Creature from the Black Lagoon come out. You know that old creature, he'd swim under the people. And I never could swim, but I could dog paddle pretty good. So I was going through there one day slapping water, you know, and going along. And I happened to look down, and I saw my shadow. I thought it was that old creature from Black Lagoon. I come out of that creek. Oh, Lordy, I don't know. I think I might just went on home. My parents knew Indian doctors. And she used a lot of, well, not a lot of, but she used medicine, you know, that she'd hear about. If we got a bruise or sometimes, let's see, I guess maybe a cut or something, she would get horehound and make a poultice out of it, and it would draw the soreness out. There was an old elder, well, he wasn't all that old, but he was an old bachelor. He and his mother lived up the road from us, and he would go to town every Saturday, and he had a team of mules and a rubber-tired wagon. And on his way to town, he'd stop at all the houses down the road. He'd always go to everybody's house, you know, take their grocery orders. And he would go to town and do their grocery shopping for them. And that was a good thing. You know, he never got paid anything for it. He never asked for money because that was just something he did to help out his neighbors. And we didn't go to Kenwood Town. We would go to Jay on Saturday, you know, and they always had a big flea market out there, and my daddy liked to go in the sale barn there. We'd come to town and just hang out. I mean, you know, I guess the first commode I ever used in the restroom was at the courthouse in Jay. The only time we ever really got candy was like if we would go out in the barn and get eggs. They don't tell them how old they were. We'd get them out of the hayloft and take them over there to that little old store at Kenwood, you know, and sell them. And that way we'd get candy or pop. Back then, my dad and mom both, well, mainly my dad, he always knew where the springs were along the road, you know, where we get his family a drink of water. Well, we would stop one day up there at that spring on Highway 10. All of us was out of the car except Granny, and she was sitting in the car. Anyway, here comes this car real fast, went up there, stopped. This guy got out and come running back there, and he talked to my Granny because he'd seen her in the car. And Mama went up there and wanted to know what he wanted, you know. And he told her that his wife was having a baby, that he needed, that they needed help right quick. And see, Mama, she was a midwife too. She had delivered children, and she went up there, and well, it wasn't long till here she come back to the car, and this baby was born, and it was a little boy baby. And that guy wanted to know what my dad's name was, and she told him, and his name was John, you know. So they named that baby John. I didn't get to see any of it, but Mom was excited because, you know, she had, you know, they's gonna name that baby, and Dad was excited because they's gonna name that baby after him. It's an old Indian trick. When you have snakes in your yard or around, after you kill them, burn them, and don't do anything with them. Just let the wind blow the ashes around, and the ashes, other snakes, they won't come around. The ashes keep the other snakes out of the yard. And I had lots of snakes up here at one time.